Gentlemen, welcome to another FN Wrestling podcast. And today, our topic is episode 1. Welcome to the 90s. That's right, 1990s is what we're going to be talking about. I am the Prince of Darkness, the Prime Minister of Sinister, the JFB, James from Boston.
It's me, the Canadian Crush. Some people call me Canada Dry. The future's so bright, I gotta wear shades.
And we are joined by a special guest. Who are you and what do you do?
I am Delirious, and I am the king of all prediction leagues.
I can attest to that. I have been butchered many times by Dally in prediction leagues for sure.
Let me just say this. Our episode today is brought to you by the FSGP, the Freshly Squeezed Grand Prix. If you haven't joined their league, look them up on Facebook, Freshly Squeezed Grand Prix. So join up to that. They're the official
league.
Yeah, lots of prizes to be won, and it's all free.
Yeah, and it's awesome. It is absolutely awesome. Benji runs a amazing FSGP prediction site. So definitely, if you want to take on the likes of the three of us, you're more welcome to sign up for free and see how you pair up against this dominating trio that are running this podcast right now. So let's go to our first topic. So there are a lot of polarizing, or you could say villainous people from the 90s. And we figured we would write something nice about them. So the first one we're going to speak nicely of is the man with the tennis racket, Mr. Jim Cornette. And Aaron, why don't you go first?
Oh, geez, Jim Cornette. What? You know, we're actually, Evan Wrestling, we're actually blocked by Jim Cornette on Twitter. So he actually has a lot of knowledge about professional wrestling. He's actually, I hate to say it, but he's actually a genius when it comes to professional wrestling. But he's got a mentality. Well, I'm not going to say anything bad. My mama said, if you can't say anything nice, don't say anything else. I'm going to cut it off right here. And, yeah.
All right, Dally, what do you think about Mr. Cornette? What's something nice you could say about Mr. Jim Cornette?
When I seen him as a manager, he was pretty good at managing, and he played that heel character really well. So I like heels, and he made a good heel manager. So,
well, I can say that he was one hell of a tag team manager. I mean, he, to me, really brought in the golden age of tag team wrestling, especially in the territory of Smoky Mountain. No matter where he went, he brought in and brought forth some amazing tag team wrestling, especially as a heel manager. So that is my nice thing to say about Jim Cornette. I am also blocked by Jim Cornette as well on the Twitter. So our next nice guy that we have to say nice things about is going to be good old-fashioned Vince McMahon. Dally, why don't you go first? Say something nice about good old Vince. He's old now. He's in his 80s or 90s, so you got to take it easy on him.
Personally, I've always loved Vince, but like in the recent years, he doesn't give the right superstars the rub. Like,
yeah.
There's so many great talent that has missed out on great opportunities, and it's because he has that old mindset, which I know we're talking about the 90s here, but he seems to not be able to adapt.
Yeah.
So JFP,
Aaron?
can I just interrupt quickly? Are we appearing this small on the podcast, or is this just how we appear? Before we had our cameras were equally.
Oh, there we go.
There we go.
Okay, that's a little bit better.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh.
Whoop.
There's 2 options now. They changed it.
There we
Yeah,
go.
that's what we want.
That's the one we had. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I guess I would always love his feuds with Austin, with Stone Cold Steve Austin,
Yeah.
and he would always crack me up. Like, he's funny, but he's such a dick.
No, we weren't supposed to say that last part.
Okay, I'm sorry.
We have to no mean things.
All right, Aaron, say something nice about Mr. McMahon.
Well, he brought wrestling to us. Without Vinnie Mac, I don't know if we're having this podcast even.
Yeah.
He made wrestling huge.
Yeah.
He brought it to the mainstream.
Well, I'll say for this, despite the scandals, especially the steroid scandals and the other human resource nightmares that he's had within his company, despite the burying of talent and sometimes ridiculous storylines like Mae Young giving birth to a hand, he made wrestling a spectacle. I mean, WrestleMania 1 really ushered in where your casual fans, or maybe not even your fans, could have somewhere to go, and they watched WrestleMania 1, whether it was on a closed circuit TV, whether they were in the crowd. I mean, it was a spectacle, and that's what he's done. He's literally made wrestling a spectacle, and to me, that's the nicest thing I can say about Vince McMahon, who has not blocked me on Twitter, by the way.
No, he hasn't blocked me, but he doesn't know we exist. So,
So finally, we're going to end up with Mr. Paul Heyman. And I think I'll go first on this one. This man changed wrestling, I think, for the better, and it changed its fan base. I mean, I don't think there's a guy in the locker room, any of his boys bought into his cult-like leader mentality that we're going to take over wrestling. We're going to change wrestling. If you watched ECW, not even during its heyday, but in its very beginning, you'd recognize fans. They'd go there every week and every pay-per-view, and they always stand in the same spot, and they always stand in the same location. To me, that's a huge, huge thing. And he fought tooth and nail for his boys, and regardless of whether he paid them and whether he not, it was a family affair with that group. I also want to give him reps because he really brought in Japanese and lucha libre wrestling into the mainstream, into America. He had guys like Tajiri, and he had guys like Rey Mysterio and Psychosis. So if you kind of get rid of the blood and guts aspect of it, like Sabu, he brought in different styles of wrestling for people to watch. So,
and
sorry.
No, go ahead.
Did he have wrestlers wrestle like without pay?
There was times that he did not make he didn't make payment in time in paychecks.
Oh wow.
Yeah. But nobody abandoned him. They stuck up.
Yeah.
What
were you gonna say, Aaron?
I guess I'll just say my nice thing. Paul Heyman. I don't know if there's anyone who's, I guess, a manager, mouthpiece, advocate that can speak as well as Paul Heyman. When he gets that microphone he's no Canadian Crush, mind you, but when he gets that microphone, he just flows. It's like silk, baby. It's like butter.
Absolutely.
No one can do those promos as far as a manager like him.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, the way he puts his talent over, and he really gets you pumped up for what's about to come.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me present to you Brock Lesnar.
Yeah. And he also has great creative mind as well. Like he wanted to put over guys like Cesaro. Like he saw big things in them that Vince didn't see.
Yeah, it was Heyman that pushed Punk to the moon. Vince didn't see it, and he just was keeping on yapping in Vince's ear, and finally Vince is like, "Shut up, we'll do it. Fine, let's see." So
yeah,
and he paid off for Vince.
Definitely.
Yeah,
He's a big
Heyman is. Yeah, and it's funny. He's been in wrestling since he was a kid. He used to take pictures, and then sell the pictures to the fans for $1. So kind of like how Bruce Pritchard got his start. He was at the ring and shooting pictures, and that's how he got his start. And eventually, it blossomed into ECW and a job at WWE. So yeah,
Dallas,
and he's
what's
that?
Did Dallas say his one nice thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
And he has never blocked me on Twitter too, so that's
we're good. We're good.
All right, so let's talk about 90s wrestling matches. What matches do you feel exemplify the 1990s, the Attitude Era, and all through that? What matches do you think? And we'll go with Aaron first.
I'm gonna go the SummerSlam match between Bret Hart and Davey Boy. I've never seen the Intercontinental title treated so beautifully.
Yeah.
The funny thing about that match, I just watched a shoot interview with Bret, and he was talking about how Davey Boy was having a rough time around that time, and he was really addicted to drugs and alcohol, and Bret wasn't able to meet up. Bret had so many ideas for this match, and he played it all out in his mind from the start bell to how it ended, and he had it all played out. But the problem is he couldn't get a hold of Davey Boy to talk about the match with him.
Yeah.
And for months and months, he wasn't able to get this all out. And it didn't happen till the day before the show, and Bret was pissed that Davey Boy hadn't met up with him and talked to him about the match. And so the day before, they talked about it, and he's like, okay, Davey Boy's like, I don't know, like, I'm not confident. And so Bret's just like, well, just follow my lead and do everything I tell you to do, and we're going to put on a good match. And they did. And you didn't know that it was a spur of the moment, like day before match that they had all planned out. But every little piece of that match is storytelling. And even the pin at the end where he just reverses Bret's roll up and pins him for the 1, 2, 3. It was that match. Davey Boy thought it was meant to put him over, but it actually put Bret over and pushed him to the moon after that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I'm gonna have another one. Catch up that one. I missed that one, so I'm gonna have to
check that match out, Dallas, on the network.
Any other matches you think helped define the 90s? Aaron?
I thought Dallas was going to go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mine is also an Intercontinental Championship match. The ladder match between Razor Ramon and Shawn Michaels.
Yeah.
I really love that one. I think it was Survivor Series also, or SummerSlam. I
think it was SummerSlam.
Okay. Yeah, I thought so. I am a big fan of like guys of their size, and putting them in like a ladder match is just, you see so much great spots. It's
Yeah.
like entertaining as hell.
Awesome. Well, I have a twofer. So I couldn't pick one or the other. I have two that really exemplified the 90's. The first one is going to be Roddy Piper versus Bret Hart, WrestleMania 8. That stole the show. That was technical wrestling at its best, and Piper and Hart, I mean, they wrestled at Stampede together. They wrestled in other organizations. The consummate professionalism between those two, that to me, that stole the show. And you had Macho Man as the main event at WrestleMania 8. They stole the show.
Who was Macho against?
Amazing. What's that?
Who was Macho against in that one?
I think Ultimate Warrior for the Intercontinental.
Oh,
yeah. And then my second one is, and then the second one is going to be the Great Muta versus Jushin Thunder Liger. This was the first time we got introduced to Kishin Thunder Liger as they went at it for 25 minutes. Muta decided to rip off the mask of Jushin Thunder Liger, a virtual no-no in the world of professional wrestling, especially in Japanese wrestling. And when Jushin stood up, he had his face painted white. And he tore off his bodysuit, and he had Japanese writing all over his chest. And he got power from the gods, to go ahead and defeat the Great Muta. If it's on New Japan Pro Wrestling World, it's also on YouTube. But that was the introduction to the Kishin Thunder Liger, and I give a shout out to my boy Jim Doherty. His older brother used to tape trade back in the day, and he would send me tapes that he would record of matches from Mexico and from Puerto Rico and Japan. And I still have that tape somewhere in storage of Jushin Thunder Liger turning into Kishin Thunder Liger, and going ahead and just being bigger than life, and was able to scare Muta, which was a first.
And that's professional wrestling is being bigger than life.
Oh yeah, absolutely. All right, so our next topic: guys who have never gone the rub, guys who, for some reason whatsoever, they didn't get the big belt. You know, and we're not talking Intercontinental. We're not going to talk about U.S. championships. We're talking about the heavyweight championship, whether it's NWA, AWA, the IWGP, the WWE, or WWF. What's the one glaring omission of a wrestler that did not get the rub? And Dally, we're going to go with you first.
If we're talking 90's, I would say Billy Gunn. I feel like he has that right size and athleticism of being world champion, and he never got that.
Yeah.
So I think with Billy Gunn, I think he was behind so much great talent that he couldn't get the push past Triple H and Shawn Michaels.
Yeah.
Being in DX, I think that kind of actually held him back. If he would have left DX and been against them, I think he would have had more of a shot.
Yeah. And he's always been a big tag team guy. So, I mean, he excels so well in tag teams, but he's never got that main event push.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it's interesting. He actually suffers from asthma. That's the big reason why he tag teams a lot. He has really bad asthma. So that's the reason why he tag teams, is because he doesn't have to be in the ring for very long. That could have been a reason too why he never got that rub, from Vince, was
it seemed like he got asthma. Seemed like he got a lot of stops and starts as a single wrestler.
Yeah.
Remember Rockadoodle? He was Honky Tonk Man's guy there. Oh, Rockabilly.
Yep.
And even after DX, they were pushing him a bit, and then it just kind of stopped.
Yeah. So Aaron, no, go ahead.
Remember when they paired him with Tori Wilson?
Who wouldn't want to be paired with Tori Wilson?
I know. All right, Aaron. Who's the guy that you feel never got the rub?
I think we can. I like this topic because I feel we can really dissect it and pull out some names that should have been stars. And the one that comes to my mind, and he's one of my faves, is Owen Hart. That guy was just oozing talent, and he really should have got the belt at one point there. Especially after Brett left, but the spotlight was his to take, and we're going to get into that a bit later. But Owen Hart, he could do it all. I love that enziguri. I just love that move to set up the sharpshooter. I used to practice that move. I couldn't do it. I had to put my hand on the floor. But
I'm surprised he's never held that belt.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
The other thing about Owen is that he wasn't like Bret Hart was going at 100. He was like everything was 100 for Bret.
Yeah.
But Owen, he never put that full effort in. It was kind of just fun for him, and he didn't take it as seriously as Bret. And you just kind of wonder if he would have went 100 like Bret, how far he would have went.
Oh, he would have been to the moon. I mean, I feel he was horribly robbed of not getting a major belt in WWE. All right, so I'll go with my guy. So, there's the old saying that championships make the man, and there are some guys who don't need a belt to be relevant or to be popular. But I always thought it was a crime that Roddy Piper did not get a shot. He's gotten shots at the heavyweight championship, and he is one of the few people who has beaten Hulk Hogan clean in the middle of the mat with a 1-2-3, but it was a non-title match. It sucks that Piper, he was a utility knife for Vince McMahon. If he needed him to go up against a brand new babyface, he could play the villain. If he had to play the good guy against the new villain that's coming out, he would do it. But that man never held major championship gold in WWE or WCW as well. And I always felt he was robbed of that opportunity. He didn't need the belt, but it would have been nice for him to at least be in the echelons of, hey, he is a WWE heavyweight champion.
I think that it would have been brilliant of Vince to have given Piper a short run as world champion in the 80s. Yeah. Because it would have been huge for that rivalry that they had if Piper would have found a way to steal the belt at one point, and it would have just made Hogan chasing for that belt even to get it back. Even
you could have set that up for a whole year of him chasing Piper, and started at WrestleMania and ended at WrestleMania, and spend that year kind of going back and forth. Hogan got injured. He's out for a couple months. Hogan's back, but he still can't get in. And then he comes back at WrestleMania and is able to take the belt away.
I would have done that at WrestleMania, end of WrestleMania 1 to WrestleMania 2, instead of having like King Kong Bundy in the steel cage. This would have been big.
Yeah. Nothing against King Kong Bundy. He was a great villain, but Piper's probably one of the best heels in the game. I don't think there's anybody around that is iconic. When you say heel in professional wrestling, I don't think there's anybody as iconic as Roddy Piper.
But he was the Chris Jericho of his day.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Someday people will be saying that about Maxwell Jacob Friedman.
Oh, I think so too.
Absolutely.
But the thing
MJF.
about MJF, he will have the gold, 100%.
Yeah.
They're not going to keep that off of him.
Oh
No.
yeah.
He is such a great shit heel. Absolutely.
Who else do you guys got for who should have?
To me, another guy that I thought should have gotten it and never did was the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase.
That's a good one.
Yeah, he had his own belt. It was $1 million belt full of diamonds and gold, but he never held WWE gold. I always thought that another heel that again could have made a great chase for the champion at the time, for Hogan or Macho Man, and he never won the gold.
I think it would have really helped that whole time there to have, even if it was a short time that he held the belt.
Yeah.
I think it really would have helped that time era.
I think Jake Roberts, Jake the Snake, didn't he also not have the belt?
He never had the belt.
He would have been a good one.
But yeah, I also think with Jake, he didn't need it. But at the same time, that's what you say when you have a career, when you don't have the belt. I didn't need the belt. So.
Yeah, he definitely he is one of the few wrestlers who didn't need hardware. He was that over, but still at the same time, I mean, it's always nice when you look at the annals of the Hall of Fame and you look at all the greats who have been champions in certain eras, and it's always nice that you get to see, hey, Ted DiBiase was once a WWE champion, when he gets into the Hall of Fame, not 16 times like Ric Flair, but definitely would have been nice to have at least one or two guys that we're highlighting that really honestly should have at least held the belt for a few months at least.
My next wrestler is someone that really should have won it, and I think actually maybe even Ric Flair stopped it from happening. I don't know, because I think Mr. Perfect should have had the belt.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like his gimmick was so on fire. Especially those little skits not skits, but little segments he would do where he's catching his own football and doing the hockey segments. He's Mr. Perfect. He can score a hat trick. He can play goal. He can, whatever. Mr. Perfect was so good. And he was one of the safest wrestlers as well.
Oh yeah. I mean, he was a perfectionist in the ring. I still to this day spit and hit gum with my hand.
I do that as well.
What is it?
He used to chew gum when he came down to the ring. About halfway down, he'd spit it out and then smack it with his hand away.
Oh my God, I never seen that.
Yeah. Spitting gum and whacking it with your hands. You feel perfect when you do that.
Yeah, so I still do it to this day. If I'm out in public and I'm chewing gum, I just and smack it with my hand.
Now you're going to see a perfect flex.
I'll tell you one other one that I'm really disappointed in it, and it's not because he didn't deserve it. Magnum TA, horrible car accident, obviously shortened his career tremendously. But when Ric Flair comes out and says that he could have been one of the greatest wrestlers of all time, goes to show you how great Magnum TA was. And that horrible car accident obviously shortened his career quite a bit. But man, that guy should have gotten the belt the day he arrived.
Well, he had that look too. All the ladies loved him. Like Magnum was perfect for him. That name.
Did he go by another name?
Nope. Only went by Magnum TA. If he's on the network. If you get a chance, watch a couple of his matches on that or YouTube. He's a big burly guy. He had the long curly hair. He was very good looking. All the ladies loved him. He could have been contemporary to Rick Rude.
And I'm sure Vince was on Vince's radar to get over to WWE.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah. Anybody else that we?
What about Rick Rude?
Rick Rude,
Rick
Intercontinental Championship, but never captured the heavyweight championship.
Didn't he have it in WCW?
No.
He almost won it, didn't he?
He almost won it, yeah.
Yeah. That's that almost sort of thing, is they almost get it. What about Andre?
He never held it?
Well, he had it for that one little bit there, and then they took it away because he gave it to
Ted DiBiase.
Yeah. But Andre, like, who better than Andre to at least hold it for a bit, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Andre was another one of those Swiss Army knives for Vince. A new face comes into town. Let's bring out Bobby Heenan and the Giant, to come in and wreak havoc on the new baby face and beat the meat out of him. Gino Hernandez.
You said the wrong thing to Dallas.
Oh, it's such a bad choice of words.
Oh, funny.
Gino,
excited over here.
I'll say one more name that I think should have held gold and didn't, and that was Gino Hernandez. Another guy from WCCW, another Texas wrestler. Did not win the belt at all, no matter where he went, and obviously his life was cut short dramatically. He died very young, but he was another babyface that should have had a chance at the gold and did not win that gold at all.
And who else we got? I'm sure there has to be someone else you got there, Dallas.
I know Kane never won the world title, did he?
Yeah, Kane did. Yeah,
Kane did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
because if he did, like, I feel like his reigns were like super short, and they could have been a lot longer.
Oh
like,
yeah, for sure.
He could have been a bigger star than, they allowed him to be.
Yeah.
So.
We mentioned Psycho Sid Justice, Sid Vicious last podcast.
Yeah.
And I since read something on him is that he was actually psycho with his knife fight with Arn Anderson in the hotel room, and just Mike Chioda said that he was afraid of Sid Vicious, and he was I don't know if it was the steroids or what, but that really hurt his he could have been bigger.
Yeah,
it wasn't just the softball.
I was gonna say maybe Arn Anderson was cutting into his softball season.
Yeah, corking the balls.
Yeah, it was so funny. I always wonder why Sid Vicious took time off. Like, he would just disappear for months on end. And I was listening to another podcast, and they were talking about Sid Vicious, his love for softball, and it was in his contract that softball season started, he would take it off. So, but apparently he's also psycho, so that adds another dimension.
He would piss a lot of people off, and he'd have to let things cool down because he was such a big star, such a big look to him that they always bring him back. But imagine if he wasn't a dick.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. Imagine if he was, a nice guy and didn't play softball. He could have been huge. He could have been huge.
We're going to have to bring up the softball every podcast.
Could have been huge if he didn't play softball. He'd have his own podcast.
Softball season.
I think we're going to get Twitter banned by Sid Vicious. I don't know. I just feel it.
Sid Vicious, follow us, like us.
Wait, he's still alive?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's still alive.
Oh, wow.
I don't even know if he's on Twitter.
He was the guy that broke his leg on WCW TV where it just snapped.
Yeah.
That was brutal.
Oh, that was horrible. It jumped off jumped off the top rope, and then that leg just went snap. Oh, it was
hard to watch.
We'll have to do that for a podcast. Gruesome injuries we've seen live, or at least tapes a video of it. But yeah, that leg breaking was gross. Well, we can't end the podcast without really talking about, well, not factions per se, but internal factions. Groups of guys that drove together, they ran together, and none other is more well known in wrestling today than the Clique, the guys who post up the Too Sweet signs. Kevin Nash, Sean Waltman, Scott Hall, Shawn Michaels, Triple H. They were the Clique, and they ran the political side of wrestling. They were involved deeply in the politics. So, what is everybody's thoughts about the Clique and how important they are to the 90s?
I'll go first. Without them, we don't have the Bullet Club now.
Yeah.
They revolutionized wrestling with the X and even the NWO. All has to do with the Clique, and it's kind of like a bittersweet thing, like, because they say too sweet, but it's too bitter sometimes, because they screwed over a lot of talent to get where they got, and we can even delve into that a little bit. But Dallas, what do you think about the Clique?
I thought they were totally badass. I like the going against the boss kind of thing, and I mean, I didn't really see much of the Clique. I've seen a lot more of the DX without Kevin Nash, but was the Clique mostly in WCW or WWF?
Half and half.
Originally, they were WWF.
Yeah.
Okay.
There was the famous Madison Square Garden scene. Was it Madison Square Garden where they?
Yeah, it was the MSG match, the finale for Scott Hall and Kevin Nash, where they all got together, all four of them, and start hugging each other.
They broke kayfabe.
Yeah, they broke kayfabe, and the story was that because of that, Triple H was actually supposed to win King of the Ring that year, and that was going to be his catapult. And unfortunately, they decided to give it to some guy you may have heard of, Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yeah, I think I might have heard of him.
Who?
Something happened. Yeah. Who? This bald guy who like flips off the middle fingers and drinks a lot of beer, goes, "Oh hell yeah!" Yeah, supposedly he won instead, but Triple H was supposed to get the rub. He was supposed to be the guy that won the King of the Ring that year, and because of the breaking kayfabe at MSG, they gave it to Stone Cold instead.
I remember Triple H even mentioned that in one of his interviews after he won his next King of the Ring. He mentioned that because of you and your politics, I didn't get to win this till now.
Yep.
But
can't break kayfabe. Can't break kayfabe. Even now, that's let's pose that question right now. Is kayfabe dead, or is kayfabe still real?
It seems like they're all friends, and I kind of don't like that.
Yeah.
Like, I kind of wish that they were like, they had real heat on each other.
Yeah.
But I think we're at a different time now where everyone's reading the internet and everyone's watching podcasts like this and talking about the behind the scenes stuff, where I think it's so hard to keep kayfabe alive. It's almost like as soon as you turn that TV on, that's when kayfabe starts, and as soon as you turn the TV off, that's when kayfabe ends.
Yeah,
it's that magical 2 hours or 3 hours watching your show.
Yeah, I think it's cool. I think it's cool that when wrestlers start kayfabing each other, tweeting each other back and forth, especially before big matches.
Yeah, that's really cool.
They'll go back and forth. To me, that kind of adds. It's another way for them to tell their story. It's not in the ring anymore. It's not promos or backstage interviews. Now you can get on Twitter, and you can extend that storyline by talking smack about your opponent. That, I'm going to kick your ass, and oh, hey, I saw you were eating a pastry. You better get used to eating it now because you're going to be sucking it through a straw next week.
Yeah.
To me, kayfabe not so much dead. It's different now. Kayfabe is different. It's not dead.
I think I wanted to tell, actually. Sorry, we're going to get back to the click, but I just wanted to tell one of Owen Hart's practical jokes.
Yeah, go ahead.
I forgot about it earlier, but I wanted to get into that. And you probably heard it. I wrote it on the blog. But Lex Luger had a lot of heat in WWF at one point, and more with the boys backstage. And no one really wanted to ride with him. And Owen Hart, just being a loving guy, just fun-loving guy, said, "I'll ride with him. I'll room with him. We'll be buds." And they were friends. And but this opened up Luger to be a victim of Owen Hart. Because if Owen loves you, you're in trouble, because he's going to get you. He's going to get you. And so on one such occasion, they were rooming with each other, and Owen was planning something to get Luger and get him bad. And so what he did is he waited one morning when they were about to move on to another town, and he waited till Luger was in the shower, and he took some pictures with a Polaroid camera of his junk. And then he put it in Lex Luger's suitcase.
Yeah.
And he I guess he borrowed some women's underwear from someone and threw it in there too, and some knives and forks. And so Luger got out of the shower, and they're ready to go to the next town. And they head to the airport, and sure enough, Luger's going through the metal detector, and all of a sudden, beep, 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 beep. And they had to check his luggage, and there was the women's underwear and pictures of Owen Hart's junk. And Owen is just sitting there laughing his ass off as Luger's face is just red. And
did those pictures ever come to surface?
I
on the
don't
internet?
think so. I don't think so. But Luger was really embarrassed, and that's probably,
God, that's hilarious.
That's probably the best Owen Hart practical joke I've ever heard, and it just takes such gall to take pictures of your own junk for part of the gag.
That's so awesome.
That's commitment to the gag, right?
Yep, absolutely. You guys stay in character especially if you're pulling one of his jokes. He has to stay in character. He used to call people all the time pretending to be Stu. I remember that, hearing that. He used to call, or he'd call Stu pretending to be Vince McMahon or something.
Oh yeah, I think I did hear that.
Yeah, he was always a practical joker. So
another one was with Jim Ross. I guess he had put some white powder on below his nose, and he's like, "Jim, I'm having some problems," and he just some powdered sugar or something.
Man, it sucks it sucks that we don't have him anymore, because just to have him do a DVD where he talks about all the jokes that he pulled on people would be, price enough for to watch it for sure. And
so let's get back into the click now that we told my story, because I wanted to get into that.
Yeah, so let's I think we can all agree the click had some stroke behind the scenes. Obviously political wise, they had the power in WCW with Nash, Hall, and Hogan, obviously, and then Triple H, Shawn Michaels, and then Waltman kind of going back and forth, X-Pac in WWF, or X-Pac in WCW, or Pac and whatever they called him going back from WCW to WWE, being a member of the Clique too. Do you think that their power was a little bit too much? I mean, do you think that there are guys who should have gotten pushes that didn't because of their politics?
I could see that.
I think of one that we just talked about, Owen Hart. He really got screwed by Shawn Michaels.
Yeah.
After Brett left, the spotlight was ready to go on him for a short little, maybe title run, and I think Triple H isn't as bad as Shawn Michaels when it comes to that. Shawn Michaels was always screwing somebody over, whispering in Vince's ear, just like, "Oh, they're not ready, they can't do it," and right after that screw job, Owen was ready for that push, and it got halted real quick by Generation X, and it just all of a sudden he wasn't.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot with Brett leaving, I think that they took it. I think they took it personally and decided that, because Davey Boy Smith and Jim Neidhart were still with them for a little bit before they jumped ship to WCW. I think all that backstage politics, because let's keep in mind too, you also had the BSK, which was the Undertaker's little clique, but I don't think they had the political stroke.
I think
even
they
though
could have.
Oh, they could have, yeah.
But I don't think they rolled like that. They weren't the Weasley sort of
being in Kangaroo Court as well as the judge. Obviously he had stroke, but when it came to storylines and who gets a push and who doesn't, the Clique always did it. In WCW with NWO, I mean, NWO was running wild, and obviously, it's a cash grab, of course. You got to go with what's hot, and everybody's wearing NWO. And I remember people who don't even like wrestling were wearing NWO shirts, and I'd be like, "Oh, you like the NWO?"
Got one right here.
I know. I'd be like, "Oh, you like WCW?" No, I just like the shirt. I mean, like they took that mainstream, and now you're seeing it now with Bullet Club. Obviously, Bullet Club is everywhere. And now, of course, with them and All Elite and, Young Bucks, obviously they're everywhere too. But, I think the stroke that, guys like Cody and Kenny and the Young Bucks have in A&W is a little bit different than it was with the Clique, because obviously they're executive vice presidents. They're getting paid as that. It's their job to be promoters. Where the Clique wasn't paid to be, they were paid to wrestle, and kept getting into Vince's ears and saying, "Hey, what if we were to go ahead and screw The Rock out of a main event or a title run?"
Dallas, what did you learn about The Rock getting screwed by the Clique there? You mentioned that earlier.
I think I saw that they tried to get him fired.
Really?
Yeah, it didn't have any facts with it, so I don't know, but that's what I heard here and there. But
yeah, it wouldn't surprise me.
I really did like the Ministry of Darkness a lot.
Yeah,
like that was another good faction that I really loved. I like the Darkness.
Well, let's get into that. Let's move on and let's talk about the best factions of the 90s.
Yeah, we could do that. I mean, to me, there was only one faction that mattered. I was an ardent WWF fan until Bash at the Beach, when Hall and Nash were waiting for their mystery third partner, and out comes Hogan. And I'm like, oh, great, Hogan's going to save the day. They're going to squash the new guys. And then Hogan leg drops Macho Man. And I was like, oh. And when the NWO was born, I stopped watching WWF and started watching WCW because of the NWO. And, NWO went over to Japan and they went in Mexico. And to me, in the 90s, there was no better faction than the NWO.
Myself, this is only going to be because I'm from Canada. But in Canada, there was no bigger faction than the Hart Foundation.
I knew it.
There was no bigger faction. No, I'm sorry. I gotta say it from my perspective. I can't do it from your guys' perspective. I know you're all Americans. You guys are all Americans down there. But in Canada, there's no bigger faction than the Hart Foundation. The one segment was when it was so cool when they formed. Davey Boy and Owen were fighting, and they're ready to whack each other on the head with steel chairs. And Brett comes out and says, "What are you guys doing? I love you, Owen." And they had just finished their big feud for years and years between each other. "I love you," and Owen's crying on TV. And it's just this awesome segment to form the Hart Foundation.
Yeah,
I think you sent that to me
Yeah, I did. That was such a good segment.
like last year.
And in Canada, that USA versus Canada feud that went on between the Hart Foundation and DX and just different factions, it was huge up here. It was like Hollywood epic levels, where we're like, fuck you. along with like, they were bad guys in the States, but up here they were heroes. It was just such a cool time to have them. It was reversed. Stone Cold was getting booed in Canada, while getting cheered in the United States, and vice versa. It was just this that I think WCW, wow, did they ever drop the ball when Brett came over there with Davey and the Anvil. They could have easily brought in Jericho or someone to be part of that, and kept the Hart Foundation together. But I think that's another case of the click or something just kind of stopping that from happening.
Yeah, it sucks. I mean, they could have they misused Bret Hart horribly in WCW. Because I was always a Bret Hart fan through most of the 80s and most of the 90s until he got to WCW, and then they just it's like the example I can use is you just bought a Ferrari and you don't know how to drive stick, so you decide to get an automatic, and then you don't know how to drive it, so you crash it. I mean, that's essentially what they had. They had a high performance sports car, and they decided to put Walmart tires on it and get an automatic and, go around corners at 150 miles an hour.
Mind you, when he finally did win the world title in WCW, it was just bad timing because of what happened. Just shut that down. But they should have done that way earlier.
Yep, absolutely.
I'm jealous that I didn't get to watch WCW in its prime. Like, I wish I would have been able to watch it. Well, I didn't even watch WWF until 2002. But
WCW was unique because they stole a lot of wrestlers from ECW, all the luchadors that they took, and then of course they have their working arrangement with New Japan Pro Wrestling. So you would see Muda and Chono and all them, but it was the Wild Wild West. I mean, you had so many great talent going through WCW. With the exception of Goldberg. I'm not a Goldberg fan, never have been, never will be.
No.
I mean,
I liked him in 2003 and 2004.
Yeah, they just, they kept putting, it's the streak of 100 and some odd wins, and it's like he's got the same four moves.
Speaking of the click, I think that was the best thing they ever did, was to take that title and end the streak. That I applaud that.
Yeah,
ending that streak was the best thing the Click ever did.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll agree with that one. Hurrah! I'll
Dallas,
agree with that.
what was your favorite faction of the 90s?
Probably Ministry of Darkness or DX.
Degeneration X. Wow.
Yeah.
Like,
Very polarizing figures.
Yeah.
Suck it.
if not for DX, I don't know if WWE wins the Monday Night Wars.
That's true. That's true. They were a huge part. You know, Stone Cold and Undertaker weren't going to be able to carry that company by themselves. They needed that storm of DX to come in and do it.
I feel like that. I think we've got probably about 5 minutes left, but I feel like if we don't talk about Stone Cold Steve Austin a little bit more, I feel we're not doing the 90s podcast justice. Because Stone Cold Steve Austin, that WrestleMania match with Bret Hart with the double turn.
Oh yeah.
Stone Cold was on fire.
Yeah.
But that match with the double turn, with the blood on his face and the sharpshooter, that was just a thing of beauty. Like that match.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Was that the Iron Man match?
No. It was a submission match.
Yeah, there was
right.
a submission match, yeah.
And
and Stone Cold didn't give up. He didn't. Blood streaming down his face. He never tapped. He just passed out.
And that's just it's a beautiful instance of the winner not always being the most important part of the match.
Yeah.
Because Stone Cold lost, but still went over.
Yeah.
In that situation. Like, it's not always about winning. It's about how you lose and just the story that's told in that match. It's just
As Buzz Lightyear would say, it's falling but with grace.
Yeah.
That's
like a feather.
Yeah, like a feather. That's how Stone Cold did it. He lost, but with no disgrace.
And that feud with McMahon and Stone Cold.
That was gold. Even though McMahon isn't a very convincing wrestler, he did pretty good in the role.
The character work was beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he became one of the greatest heels of all time. Is evil Vince McMahon. You know, the minute that he said, you know, I didn't screw Brett, Brett screwed Brett. Right there, that was the minute that Vince McMahon was no longer, because before that happened, I didn't know he owned WWF.
Oh, really?
Yeah, to me he was always the commentator, you know. And so when Jim Ross is talking to him and says, you know, did you screw Bret Hart? And he goes, I didn't screw Bret Hart. Bret screwed Bret. And I was like, holy cow! Like. That's when I went and started doing research and realizing that he owned the company. I'm like, holy shit, he owns WWF.
And I think the interesting thing about Bret screwed Bret comment is I think he believed it at the time.
Oh yeah.
Did he go through like a deep dark depression or Bret Hart?
I think the bitterness was there for a long time.
I can imagine.
Because that was like the father figure to him, and they were so close, and it was just like it felt like a stab in the back.
Yeah. Because I remember there's a great documentary that's out. It's on YouTube called Wrestling with Shadows.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah, it follows basically Bret Hart from his last few years in WWF to going over to WCW. And, you know, WCW offered him a buttload of money, and Vince said, yeah, we'll match it. We'll give you more. And then Vince came up to him during the Monday Night Wars and said, I can't afford to pay you. You know, what I can do is I can try to get as much money from WCW as I could possibly can for you. And the rub was, you know, Vince didn't want him bringing the belt to WCW, and Bret said, I'll drop it Monday night. Let me win in front of my fans, in front of my country.
Well, they wanted to have a run-in where they had DX and Hart Foundation fight and end the match that way. And that's how Bret thought it was going to end, but didn't go down like that.
Nope. Did not at all. But if you're looking for if you're looking for a great documentary, that's a great documentary.
Here's something funny. Brett has some really good aim with his spit to get Vince in the face from on top of the ring.
Oh, yeah.
To get that spit right in Vince's face from where he was. I'm like, damn, that's a good
We're
aim.
talking sniper-like efficiency.
That's what the sharpshooter was. It's the spit.
I bet he makes his wife happy.
Oh, man, that's
all right. On that note, we're going to go ahead and end our podcast. Guys, it was a pleasure. Episode 1, Welcome to the 90s, is in the books. Next week, we'll have a poll up, and hopefully everybody will vote on the poll of what our next episode will be. Until then, what?
Before we go, I want everyone to do an imitation from a character in the 90s, okay? I'll go first.
Okay.
If you can smell what the Rock is cooking.
Oh, yeah. Cream of the crop, brother.
I'm going to take that little sledgehammer, turn that sumbitch sideways, and try to strap your candy ass.
All right, guys. We look forward to the poll, and we look forward to hearing from you guys and seeing what you guys want for episode 2. So for the JFB,
the Canadian Crush.
Hilarious.
This has been just another effing podcast.